G'day everyone, RLCS is this weekend, and since I'm unfortunately not on the desk this season, I'm taking the chance to give you a rundown of the Oceanic teams. It was an exciting season in OCE with every single team making at least one roster change after the Chiefs roster shuffled. Left a lot of questions around every team, but it was very quickly apparent that Chiefs and Tainted Minds would take the top spots, both going into the final week undefeated. And Chiefs, in fact, had only dropped a single game until their final matchup against Tainted Minds, where they dropped 3 more. We have to talk about Tainted Minds. It's not the same Tainted Minds as last season. It was actually formed from the core of last season's third place team, Darksided, and CJ took the experience and skill duo of Express and Shady from that team and forged them into something more under the Tainted Minds banner. In one fell swoop, CJ not only created a new big threat, but also removed his biggest rival. Breaking down the structured, careful playstyle of Darksided, CJ took their playstyle in a completely new direction, brought his very aggressive playstyle, and brought in the experience and playstyle of Express and Shady, and allowed that to tamper it a little bit as well. And now they have a focus on speed, aggression, and passing, and they're willing to take these big risks. It's actually turned out to be one of their biggest strengths, as they aim to be the first to the ball, and they end up finding their teammates so often, but when they don't, they trust each other so much to hit the ball, or to at least get a 50-50, that they're always following each other up. And this does lead to them getting scored on a little bit more often than they would hope, but it leads to a ton more goals at the same time. It's Shady's first season at the World Championship, and he's been incredibly close before, alongside Express. In the last 2 seasons, he was part of 4 RLCS qualifying matches, and he was so close so many times. So it is good to see him finally make it. Even though Express has been there before, it was 3 seasons ago, so I'm expecting that Tainted Minds will really rely on the experience of CJ to hold them together on that big stage. He's always been that hype man, willing to pump up his team when they're down, get them back in the match. And it's the one thing with Tainted Minds, or any team that has CJ, very good at causing reverse sweeps and bringing a series back from the depth of despair. It is a tendency to play hyper-defensive on the big stage in front of the big lights, and if this happens to Tainted Minds up against EG in their first crucial match, it really will destroy that hyper-aggressive playstyle. So I do worry about them there, but if they get through that match and they're fine, then they will be Gucci for the rest of the tournament. The Chiefs are in an unexpected position this season. By the time they reached their final match, they hadn't dropped a game, but now they are in a spot where they didn't expect to be. They came in 2nd seed, the first time that they'd ever really dropped a big series to the OCE teams. They've always felt like they've been ahead, but Chiefs just didn't look comfortable this season with Kami. They had played for 2 years with Jake, but weren't able to really put it completely together once they were up against a team like Tainted Minds that were piling on the pressure. But no one can argue that Kami is not one of the 3 best players that OCE has to offer. He is incredible. He's a grinder. He's been putting in the work. That's why they picked him up. They've never been satisfied with their RLCS performance, even dating back to RLCS Season 3, where no one expected anything of them, and they still managed to take down Denial. They were still unhappy that they lost to the Leftovers after that. Now they're in a position where they have dropped to Cloud9 the last 2 seasons. They want revenge there, but more importantly, they just want to try and get that title. They're aiming for the World Championship, and you see that they have put in the work as well, with 2 weeks straight of boot camping ahead, and that is what always separates Chiefs from the Oceanic play to the international play. It's always about what their preparation is for the World Championship. They're so adaptive, they change their playstyle so quickly, they are able to get up to speed with the international teams, and considering that extra bit of time boot camping, almost full 2 weeks, they should have enough time to get there. And most importantly, their loss against Tainted Minds will have really fired them up more than ever, and still talking to them, their confidence is as high as ever. They're really comfortable with this roster. They think that they've put in the work, and now they just have to hope that they can play well under the pressure. Overall this season I have really high hopes for OCE. I expect that we'll have two teams that both perform well on the stage. I've always sort of voiced my doubts about the OCE second seed, and they've always lost every single match. Even Tainted Minds came closest with an almost win against Envy, which they unfortunately threw away. The international teams keep stepping up as well though, and so Tainted Minds may have to look forward to taking a crack at Dignitas on their way to a potential third World Championship. But overall, I hope everyone cheers for the OCE teams. They've truly put in the work this season. They've dedicated countless hours to scrimming every night. They've boot camped in preparation. And even though they don't get the same salaries, they don't get the same opportunities that all these international teams, they still put in so much work. They're still so driven to just do the best they can and really prove themselves and the region. Either way they go, I know that they'll make me proud, and I hope to see everyone at the World Championship. If I don't see you there, hope you have an excellent weekend.